Hey there, lovely folks. My name is Maria, and I've got an intriguing story to share with you. It's the story of how I skillfully navigated through a tricky situation with my not-so-pleasant mother-in-law, Teresa. Let me lay down the groundwork for you. My wonderful husband, Stephen, and I crossed paths thanks to some friends we have in common, and after a whirlwind romance lasting 4 years, we decided to tie the knot. I could gush about how amazing Stephen is for days, but let's just say he's nothing short of fantastic. His dad, Dennis, is equally awesome, which explained a lot about Stephen's admirable traits. Together, they were an unbeatable team. However, Teresa, Stephen's mom, was a different story entirely. Teresa was the kind of person who seemed perpetually dissatisfied, carrying a sense of entitlement that made her difficult to please. She had dreams of living in the lap of luxury without the inclination or the means to achieve it herself. While she and Dennis led a modest life, with both working average jobs, Dennis was content with their situation, unlike Teresa. She always yearned for more, criticizing Dennis for not providing a more opulent lifestyle, and even quitting her job after Stephen landed a well-paying position, expecting the men in her life to fulfill her extravagant desires without consulting them. Enter me. When Stephen and I started our life together, we were both employed and meticulous about managing our finances, which included Stephen ceasing to indulge his mother's whims. This didn't sit well with Teresa, who wrongly accused me of siphoning her son's finances for my own benefit. She once confronted me, claiming I would drain Stephen financially, to which I confidently responded that I was independently secure and had no need for her son's money. Teresa, steeped in her misconceptions, dismissed my capabilities and predicted my downfall, vowing to protect her son from me. Despite her relentless disparagement and refusal to accept me, I remained undeterred. I married Stephen, cementing my place in his life, much to Teresa's chagrin. Her acceptance was never forthcoming as she continued to belittle me, but her opinions couldn't sway the solid foundation Stephen and I built together. In our modest way of life, Teresa always found reasons to draw comparisons between us, from the fashion we sported to the vehicles we drove. The topic of cars holds particular significance here. About 4 years prior, Teresa convinced Stephen to buy her a new car, a decent Toyota, that far surpassed my own pre-owned, well-worn vehicle. Teresa never missed an opportunity to underscore our differences, often remarking on how my car underscored my peasant status, in stark contrast to her sophisticated lifestyle. Despite her relentless jibes, Stephen always stood up for me, though Teresa's remarks never ceased. I chose to remain silent, mainly out of respect for Dennis and to avoid straining Stephen's relationship with his mother. This arrangement sufficed until a memorable dinner, when Teresa decided to mock my car once more, suggesting that a friend had mistaken it for scrap metal, destined for the junkyard. Her words were meant to embarrass, but Stephen interjected, announcing that I had reserved a brand new car, soon to be the most impressive vehicle among us. The news of my impending purchase took Teresa by surprise, especially when she learned of the $27,000 price tag. While Dennis and Stephen were genuinely supportive, Teresa couldn't hide her dismay. Here's the thing. I had always had my eye on a specific car, a dream I nurtured quietly. The reason behind my reluctance to replace my old, barely functioning car was my desire to save for this particular dream vehicle. By the time my old car had served its final day, I had more than enough saved to make my dream a reality. Stephen was incredibly supportive, excited for me to achieve this goal. When he shared the news with Teresa, it was with a spirit of pure joy. However, Teresa's reaction was predictably skeptical. Upon hearing about the new, $27,000 car, she immediately questioned the wisdom of such an expense, insinuating it was a reckless use of her son's money. But Stephen quickly clarified, emphasizing that I was purchasing the car with my own savings, a testament to my hard work and dedication towards achieving my dream. And so, the moment arrived where I could finally claim the car of my dreams. The warmth and pride in Stephen's voice were palpable as he commended me for my dedication. Maria, this is fantastic. You've earned this, working tirelessly to achieve your dream. Now, you'll have the finest car in our family. Teresa, however, could hardly contain her disbelief and frustration. No, this just cannot be happening. Maria, this is outrageous. You must cancel this purchase immediately. Owning a more luxurious car than mine is a direct insult to us, she protested, causing a stir at the dinner table. It was as if she believed her entitlement justified dictating my financial decisions. Her demand hung in the air, leaving Dennis and Stephen equally bewildered and uncomfortable. With a calm yet firm response, I made my stance clear. I won't be canceling the purchase. Buying a better car with my own money isn't an insult to anyone. Stephen and Dennis quickly voiced their support, perplexed by Teresa's accusation. Teresa, this is absurd. Maria's not disrespecting us. If anything, she's shown remarkable responsibility and ambition, Stephen retorted. Teresa's demands escalated to the point of absurdity, suggesting I not only cancel my purchase but also buy a new car for her as compensation for the imagined slight. Maria, you have two choices. Either opt for a cheaper car or buy two luxury ones, one for you and one for me, she dictated, a statement that bordered on the surreal. I stood my ground, emphasizing the value of hard work and personal achievement. Teresa, if you desire a new car, I encourage you to earn it as I did. Your current car is perfectly fine. It's unreasonable to expect me to finance your desires. The dinner ended on a sour note, with Stephen and I deciding to leave. Yet Teresa's attempts to interfere didn't stop there. She continued to send messages, threatening consequences if I proceeded with my purchase. These warnings, meant to intimidate, only heightened my resolve. I shared Teresa's messages with Stephen, who advised me to ignore them, perceiving them as mere theatrics. He had grown accustomed to managing his mother's demands through avoidance or compliance, but this situation was different, and it tested our approach to dealing with her overbearing nature. Deciding not to leave things to chance, I took extra precautions, which turned out to be a wise decision. Not long after my dream car was delivered, and while I was enjoying some time off at home, an unexpected visitor arrived. Opening the door, I was met with Teresa, who seemed unusually cheerful given our recent interactions. Her unexpected visit and pleasant demeanor raised my suspicions, but I let her in. After exchanging a few pleasantries, she requested a cup of coffee, prompting me to head to the kitchen. Within moments, the sound of the front door closing caught my attention. Racing back to the living room, I arrived just in time to witness Teresa driving away in my new car. The reality of the situation took a moment to sink in. Teresa had just stolen my car. I immediately called Stephen, urging him to come home as quickly as possible, my mind racing with confusion and growing panic. The situation escalated when Teresa returned, not with the intention of apologizing, but to showcase the now severely damaged car. It dawned on me then. Teresa had taken my car and deliberately wrecked it. Confronting her, I demanded an explanation for her reckless actions. She retorted with an entitlement that left me speechless, claiming she deserved a new car more than I did, and that by destroying mine, she was leveling the playing field, forcing me back to a lesser vehicle, which she deemed more appropriate for me. I couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity of her logic. Teresa seemed to believe that by wrecking my car, she'd force me back to my old, unreliable vehicle. Her misunderstanding of the situation was almost comical. She watched, bewildered, as I laughed in the face of what she assumed would be a devastating blow. Her actions, though intended to cause distress, instead highlighted her delusion. I was far from defeated. Her attempt to bring me down only showcased her desperation and misunderstanding of resilience and resourcefulness. Outsmarting the situation, I took a deep breath and approached the wreckage of my car, camera in hand. I snapped a few photos for evidence before reaching into the car and detaching a small device from the rearview mirror. Teresa, witnessing this, grew visibly alarmed, stammering, "What is that? What are you holding?" With a mix of pity and determination, I revealed, "Oh, Teresa, did you think you could turn my world upside down by damaging my car? Well, I hate to shatter your illusion, but that's just not going to happen. This," I said, holding the device aloft, "is a dash cam." Her denial was immediate. "No, that's not possible. That's fake. It can't be real. I checked for a dash cam. It wasn't there before. You're quite out of touch with modern technology, Teresa. This model is designed to be discreet, hidden behind the rearview mirror. It's recorded everything on a memory card. With this evidence, I have more than enough to involve the authorities, and my insurance will handle the damages." Teresa's face drained of color, a picture of pure dread. For some reason, she hadn't anticipated the possibility of getting caught. Now faced with the reality of legal repercussions, she began to panic, though still clinging to denial, insisting the dash cam was a bluff. "You think I'm naive?" I countered. "I ordered this dash cam well before getting the car. Given its value, I wouldn't dream of leaving it unprotected. Plus, I suspected you might pull something reckless, And here we are. With the damage done, it looks like we'll need to involve the police. Her pleas intensified. No, you can't call the cops. But it was too late. I was already on the line with them, informing them of the situation. As they confirmed their arrival, Teresa stood frozen, a look of terror in her eyes. It was then that Stephen arrived, immediately taking in the scene, my damaged car, and the tense standoff. What happened here? Maria, are you okay? I'm fine, Stephen. But as you can see, your mom decided to give my new car a makeover. She'll be more than happy to fill you in on the details. Caught in the act and with nowhere left to turn, Teresa faced the consequences of her actions. Her scheme unraveled by a piece of technology she'd overlooked and a resolve she'd underestimated. Teresa, caught in her web of deceit, thought she could manipulate the situation to her advantage. She believed that by playing the emotional card and twisting the narrative, she could cast me as the antagonist and herself as the wronged party. With tears streaming down her face, she clung to Stephen, hoping to gain his sympathy and confuse him with her version of the story. She saw her chance and took it, claiming, "Stephen, your wife has destroyed her car and is now accusing me of it. She knows I couldn't possibly afford such a vehicle, so she's framing me out of spite, saying I did it because I was envious." I had only shared the facts with Stephen, countering Teresa's dramatics with the simple truth that she was responsible for the damage to my car. Yet, Teresa attempted to silence me, vehemently denying any wrongdoing and playing the victim to Stephen, imploring him to believe her fabricated innocence. "Are you suggesting you didn't damage my car, Teresa?" I pressed, knowing well the evidence I had in hand. At this pivotal moment, I introduced the dashcam into our confrontation. This dashcam, equipped with both front and rear cameras, captured everything, including the driver's identity, I explained, watching as realization dawned on Teresa. Her plan to mislead Stephen and escape accountability crumbled with the mention of the technology she had underestimated. Her shock was palpable, a clear admission of her guilt. Her lack of awareness about modern security features like dual-sided dash cams was her undoing. Now fully aware of the trap she had walked into, Teresa's facade began to crumble. I reassured myself that, with the dash cam footage as evidence, my insurance would cover the repairs, and all that remained was to report the incident to the authorities. As the police arrived, the gravity of her actions hit home. Stephen, now understanding the extent of his mother's scheme, distanced himself from her, disappointed and disillusioned by her actions. "Mom, how could you?" he lamented, realizing that this had been a premeditated act, one that she had been orchestrating from the start. Teresa's plans were laid bare for all to see, her manipulations exposed, leaving her with nowhere to turn as she faced the consequences of her actions. In a moment of rare honesty, Teresa tried to excuse her actions to Stephen, admitting her envy over my new car was the catalyst for her reckless behavior. "Stephen, I just got a bit jealous, that's all. You know I could never afford such a car. I let my jealousy get the best of me. Please, can you forgive me?" However, Stephen's response was firm and disapproving. "Forgive you, Mom. You took someone's car without permission and then deliberately damaged it. And then, you tried to shift the blame onto my wife. How can you expect forgiveness for such actions?" While this exchange unfolded, I was engaged in a serious conversation with the police officers, providing them with all the necessary evidence, including the footage from the dashcam, which clearly showed Teresa's guilt. Upon reviewing the evidence, the police took immediate action to arrest her. Teresa's plea to Stephen in the face of her impending arrest was desperate. "Stephen, you can't let them take me. I'm your mother. It was just a small mistake. Don't let them send me to jail." Stephen's stance remained unchanged, driven by a sense of justice rather than familial obligation. "Mom, you've committed a crime. You haven't shown any real remorse, nor have you apologized to Maria. I cannot defend you in this." Attempting to appeal to me directly, Teresa sought leniency. "Maria, we're family. We can resolve this without involving the police, right?" I was resolute in my decision. "No, Teresa. You've made it abundantly clear that I am not considered family to you. And frankly, seeing justice served for your actions is the only appropriate outcome here. Officers, please proceed." With that, the police escorted Teresa to their vehicle, and she was taken to the station. Inside the house, Stephen and I reflected on the day's events. He apologized, regretting his inability to prevent his mother's actions, and acknowledging her unjust treatment towards me. "It's okay, Stephen. You've stood by me, and that's what matters." But it's clear that things can't go on like this with your mother, I reassured him. Stephen agreed, expressing his desire to distance himself from Teresa's toxic influence. I'm done with her too, Maria. I've been too lenient with her demands, failing to see how her behavior was spiraling. No more. This ordeal not only brought to light Teresa's true character, but also strengthened our resolve as a couple, committed to moving forward without the shadow of her manipulative presence. The whole ordeal with Teresa served as a serious wake-up call, not just for Stephen, but hopefully for his dad as well. Right on cue, Dennis, Stephen's father, called to piece together the chaos unfolding. With the call on speaker, Dennis relayed Teresa's version of the events from the police station, accusing Maria of wrecking her car and pinning the blame on Teresa. Teresa hoped Dennis would take her side without question. However, Dennis, having been married to Teresa for 25 years, wasn't quick to jump to conclusions without all the facts. Stephen, infuriated by his mother's attempt to twist the truth, set the record straight. Teresa had stolen and intentionally wrecked Maria's car, with the whole incident captured by the car's dash cams. Shocked by the revelation and disillusioned by Teresa's deceit, Dennis couldn't hide his disbelief. The discussion revealed Teresa's long-standing envy of Maria's new car, an obsession Dennis had underestimated. After the call, Dennis expressed his anger and disappointment to Stefan in a private conversation, deciding against bailing Teresa out and later apologizing to Maria for his wife's behavior. This saga culminated in Dennis confronting Teresa at the police station, refusing to bail her out amidst her unrepentant attitude and outrageous demands. Her tirade against him was the final straw, prompting Dennis to seek a divorce, a decision he shared with Maria and Stephen, marking his resolve to end years of verbal abuse. 2 years has passed since then. Dennis finally said his divorce from Teresa, who received no alimony due to her decision to quit her job and depend financially on her family. The little she received from the divorce was allocated to repaying Maria for the damages to her car, as mandated by the court following Maria's insurance company's lawsuit. In the aftermath, Teresa, burdened with multiple charges and financial responsibilities, found herself working 2 jobs to stay afloat. Despite her pleas for assistance, Maria and Stephen remained firm in their decision to cut ties. Last known, Teresa was living with a relative who had little patience for her antics, leading to a life far removed from the comfort and entitlement she once knew. Through these tumultuous events, Dennis found a new beginning, moving in with Maria and Stephen, away from the shadow of his past relationship. As for Teresa, her actions led to a fitting yet unfortunate end, underscored by the hard lesson that greed and entitlement ultimately yield nothing but isolation and regret.